Got it. Okay. I'd like to call this executive committee meeting of the Mansfield Downtown Partnership to order for Tuesday, March 5th. The first item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from September 7th, 2023, which are in your packet. If you have a chance to review, I'm happy to take a motion to approve.
I'll motion to approve the minutes.
Can I have a second?
Was I there?
I don't remember. Let's look. You were.
All right, I'll second.
Okay. 20 seconds. All in favor? Any opposed? Fantastic. Okay. Do we need a motion to move into executive session?
We do.
So can I have a motion to move into
What's the purpose?
the motion to move into executive session to discuss personnel,
So
discussion
moved.
of temporary staffing model and next steps. Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Great. Okay.
Wait a
Executive session.
No, you just come out.
We're out. We're back. Okay, so are we approving these, Cynthia?
I think we're recommending these
Approving
motions to the
recommendation,
board.
right. So the motions for review by this committee to recommend to the board are to move to increase senior communications manager Kathleen Patterson's pay by 10% for up to an initial 6 months, and to move to increase administrative assistant Rosemary Watson's hours from 19 hours to 25 hours for up to an initial 2 months.
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
Frank? All in favor? Fantastic. Okay. So when we get into the meeting, when I ask for this motion, Tony, can you?
Sure.
Fantastic. Okay.
Although, Kyle, you could say it came out of the executive committee
And
and
just
it
read
won't
it?
need a
Okay.
second. Yeah,
Perfect.
and
Like I did here.
Yeah, okay, perfect. I'll do that then. Great. Okay. Is there anything else, Cynthia?
I don't think so. I'll stop the recording and we've already got
Oh,
one board member coming in, so.
Yeah, so we'll adjourn. Great.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.
I have another.
To order. Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to call this meeting of the Mansfield Downtown Partnership for Tuesday, March 5th, 2024 to order. Cynthia, any comment from the public?
No public comment.
Great, thank you. Next on the agenda, the approval of minutes from February 1st, 2024. Those minutes are in your packet. I'll give you a minute and then happy to take a motion to approve. Louis with a motion. Do I have a second? Brian with a second. All in favor? Any opposed? Fantastic. Cynthia, Executive Director report.
Thank you, Kyle. So a couple of things, which are in the email that I sent, but just I'll try to summarize those. So we have settled on an annual meeting date of June 27th at Huskies. So we're really excited to have Dan and Will host us at Huskies. They'll have a space there for our group, and then we have the summer concert starting at 6:30. So this was one of the ideas from the Business and Property Owner Working Group and then the Governance Committee. So I think that'll be a nice night for our members and obviously everyone that's coming to the concert too. Connecticut's Countryside, we had a great business forum at the Innovation Partnership Building, and thank you again to Kara for hosting us there and arranging for the tours. I know many of you were there. The AI presentation was very well received, and we hope to maybe do a series with Tim Liptrap, who's the Coventry EDC chair. And then we went over to Hops 44. We had, CT Visit was there, helping businesses in terms of whether they can be listed on the state's tourism website. Then we went over to Hops 44 and it was really nice because I think almost everybody came over. And so that was, I think, a really nice evening. We are making some progress on the cultural district. So this is an EDC project, but we had 3 great community engagement sessions. And again, several people on our board were also attended at least a few of those. And so at a staff level, we're starting to work on the next step, which would be to bring this to the town council in terms of an ordinance to develop a cultural district. And sorry, I just see Emily just letting her in. And then you'd go through the process would be if the council approves moving forward, you put together a group of members, work on a plan, and then the ultimate piece of this would be state designation, which would be something fairly unique. There's only 5 or 6 cultural districts in Connecticut. So that's a spring project that we're working on. And then just to let folks know, on April 8th, the EDC and with Steve as chair and Kristen Delay as vice chair will give an update to the town council. And I will also give an update on the partnership as part of our annual review. And we just sent out, you should have received your supporter appeal for this year. We sent that out, I think, on last Friday or Thursday. So just wanted to mention that to everybody. And I think that's all I had, unless there were any questions.
Doesn't look like any questions. Great. Thanks, Cynthia. Next is a report of the Finance and Growth Committee. Tony.
Yes, well, we have a draft budget for you, and there's a couple of changes in here that I want to call your attention to. The town is and the university are continuing to make contributions of $175,000 each. There is a proposal to increase the donations to the partnership from 13,000 to 20,000. And this really reflects a determination of the executive committee to go after, and Kyle in particular with Cynthia, to go after donations from business owners. We are looking to have them sponsor particular events rather than having to fundraise by the $100 at a time that we've been doing. So that's the other thing. The other, there is an increase of $10,000 being proposed from the town for economic development. So it would move economic development from 40,000 to 50,000. Now our budget hasn't been adopted yet, but I don't see any problem with that. So it means that the revenue, the board's revenue will increase by just under $20,000. There are some additions in terms of salary, fringe benefits, insurance, and rent, and some other things. Those are basically 3% increases for staff and inflation-related increases in other places. We're still proposing some conference fees. There's a slight increase in the proposed membership fees. We're maintaining the $1,500 in legal services, even though we don't normally spend them, but our lawyer doesn't think it's safe to go below that as a budgeted item, even if we don't spend it. All right. There is, the next thing is the next things are basically inflation related. All right. Program expenses. Then you see pay increases. We will have a different recommendation for pay increases later in the meeting. But all the other increases in the salaries and fringe benefits are related to the proposed 3% increases that are in this budget, but there will be changes. I'm looking for the other change. Basically, what this has meant is that we have eliminated a contingency fund in order to cover the salary increases. And we are also reducing our cumulative balance. Not by a great deal, but we aren't adding to it, that's for sure. And I think that's about all there is to report on the budget.
Brian?
Yeah, Tony, the trail of money on the 40,000 that's proposed to be increased to 50,000 comes out of the town of Mansfield budget. And does that go to EDC and then over to the partnership? So
No,
EDC
it goes to the partnership for Cynthia's work in economic development.
Okay, but it's partnership money.
Yes.
Okay. Is there any reason why we can't include that in the 175,000?
Yes.
To make
She
it look
does-
like it's one transparent, for transparency reasons, that this is the actual amount of money that's coming out of our budget and going into the downtown partnership.
No, the 175 is a match to what UConn puts in. If we added to that, it would look uneven, but the basic contribution that the town and the university put in together is 175, and that has
Okay.
increased quite significantly. The $40,000 is the work that Cynthia does, not for the university, but for the town.
Okay, I think.
Anything else?
Anything else for Tony? Frank?
Tony, I'm trying to think of how to phrase it, but the additional support that we're seeking from business owners and others, is that covering programs, events and stuff, or do we have to make that number to contribute to salary and compensation?
My guess is that it's primarily for events and programs. No, Cynthia's shaking her head. Go ahead, Cynthia, answer the question.
Yes, so the funding that's in this budget, this is our operating budget. So this goes into funding the operations, including salaries, benefits, marketing, etc.
But it doesn't cover special events.
No, we do have one line item in there that takes money from the budget, which we did last year based on
Right.
input. It's about $9,000. That does go toward our events.
That's our seed money
In
for
terms of
events.
expenses.
Yeah,
So what if we should fall short of the 20,000?
We have a healthy fund balance.
Okay,
But it's a bit of an incentive to get us to that 20. And, it's part of the ask that we're making of the business owners, that they're involved in this all the way through, right? And
yes, and they're involved in the partnership, not just in the events.
right, got it. Okay, that's clear. Thank you.
Sorry, I was just gonna say, Tony, if I could. So Kyle and I and Frank kind of reviewed a proposal of what businesses we would approach. We're about halfway through our asks. And we're having good response from folks. So I'm optimistic.
Did Playa Bowls make a contribution?
We had a good conversation on Friday. So I'm waiting
Alright.
to hear.
Any other questions for Tony?
There should be two motions on a motion on the budget, and then there's also the financials, Tony, as well, as part of this finance report.
I'm gonna ask you to do the financials because I don't remember.
Can we take care of the budget first, since we're on that? So there's a
Sure.
motion in the packet on the budget.
All right, hang on a second. Hang on, I just gotta find it. I'm not seeing the motion. I'm seeing all the details, but I'm not seeing the motion itself.
So, I mean, anybody can state the motion.
I'll
so-
do, I'll do it.
Alright.
So item number 5, we're talking about,
Mhm.
Cynthia?
Yes, the second one in the agenda memo.
So
So
the
bottom.
second,
All right, I can do
number
it.
5, the second motion, I move to approve fiscal year 2024-25 budget for the Mansfield Downtown Partnership Incorporated.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Fantastic. And then
The financials.
the financials.
There really isn't anything of any real significance to report, as I recall. Cynthia, am I wrong?
No, you're correct. So we were not able to hold a finance committee meeting, so this is coming directly to the board, which periodically we have to do that, but no, we've just started our event season. We have proposal for raising money for our events. All our events coming into the end of last calendar year are in the black. So there really isn't anything significant in this report, I would say. We just started our donor drive, and we talked about that earlier. But we do have a motion there.
There may be, some of you may be wondering why the contributions from the university look so much more than the town. The town makes quarterly contributions. The university makes its contribution in full at the beginning of the year. So we'll get there. We just dole it out in pieces. We're tighter pockets than the university, or at least maybe it's just that our pockets are so much smaller than the universities. So I move that we accept the financials for the current fiscal year.
Second. Louis? All in favor? Any opposed? Fantastic. Thank you, Tony. Next on the agenda, reports, report and action items from committees and working groups. We have a couple people missing. Are you gonna pinch hit, Cynthia?
Yeah, I can pinch hit on promotion public spaces unless Kara and Emily want to do it.
Why don't you go ahead, Cynthia?
Okay. All right, so the umbrellas are in. We have 3 large umbrellas that will go on the town square. They are quite large, which is what we want to help with the shade situation. So we'll get those out in the next couple of months. We're in the midst of getting our new tables and chairs. So that was one priority for that working group coming out of the strategic plans. We're excited about that. We have I sent to the working group the painting that was done on Nash Zimmer that I think looks great, that Jillian Wellenick did for us. So kind of mentioned some wayfinding to our trails, and that was something that Sean really wanted to do. And then I have a couple of other students that Magdalena has given me information on that maybe would work on some of the other windows where we have available space, as we'd like to say. So that's that update. The other piece is Kathleen worked with the Unlocking Connecticut group, and they were here 2 weekends ago. So they went to an event at Jorgensen, then went to Square Peg, they took a hike, they stayed at the Graduate. So we will be appearing on their website and blog in the next month or so. So that is a great regional outreach for us. So anyway, congratulations to both Magdalena and Kathleen on their work. I think that's a pretty good overview.
Great. Property owner business engagement, Steve dropped off. Do you have anything on that one, Cynthia?
We didn't meet this last month, but we talked a little bit about the annual meeting, as I mentioned earlier. We're going to do some stories, some feature stories on our businesses. So Kathleen's working on a template for that. We also are going to try to do a few one-on-one business visits, and so Steve's working on that in conjunction with what he's working on for the EDC.
Excellent. The Sustainable Funding Committee did not meet. Obviously, we've been focusing on some of these business owner meetings. Frank and Cynthia and Kathleen and myself met to go over that. So, Emily, Celebrate Mansfield Festival updates.
Yeah, we had our first meeting for the 2024 festival. And is the date public? Now I can't remember. Am I allowed to say it? Last time I almost got in trouble.
Go for it.
Okay, it's gonna happen on September 28th. So mark your calendars now, 2024. We are sad to lose Magdalena because she was kind of such an amazing organizer and really jumped in last year to make this one happen. So we really want to try to, I think, as a committee, step up and see how we can help out the partnership as we kind of move forward planning this 2024 festival. So at our initial meeting, we kind of just started looking at kind of what worked, what we thought we could improve at the last festival, and started to brainstorm ideas for this next one. So I would say now, if any of you have thoughts or ideas, feel free to kind of let us know. But we will also definitely be looking, I think, sooner rather than later to identify area captains and volunteers, just because we really want to make sure we have a, really solid force there at the festival, since we won't necessarily have Magdalena. So if you're able to be an area captain, maybe shoot me and Cynthia an email so that we can start putting that down. Anything else, Cynthia, that I might have missed that we want to report on?
No, we have a meeting Tuesday. Did you say that? I'm sorry, Emily.
Oh, no, we'll have our next meeting on Tuesday.
That is a home football game, which won't really impact attendance. It might impact volunteers
Right.
because you access so many student groups. Although
Students.
some of your student groups may or may not go to the football games.
Yeah, it might not overlap with but maybe that, I think that means we're gonna,
Certainly.
yeah, we'll want to like try to solidify volunteers, student group participation as soon as possible too.
What about traffic? Or are they all, and they're going to be at Rentschler?
They're all campus.
Yeah.
I don't remember too many challenges last year. I remember things went off pretty well. There appeared to be a lot of help, a lot of volunteers. So that part of it, if I could recollect only one thing maybe was a little troublesome, as to the length of where the tables are stored way over in the garage and getting everything out, and then at the end of the night picking everything up. There was some kind of confusion and how to get everything back over there. So
Yeah.
I'm not sure if there's
Well,
much we can do about that.
that's a good point. I don't know, Cynthia, if we can coordinate with Public Works a little bit more to see if, I know in some years they've kind of helped us move some of the tables back on the trucks and things like that. Maybe we can
Yeah, I
coordinate
think
with them.
that's definitely on the table. No pun intended on the table, because yeah, dragging those tables
It was a workout.
is not gonna happen by the committee again.
Yeah.
That's my hope, at least.
Excellent. Great. Thanks, Emily. The next two committees are me. So governance, I will start with. The governance committee met on February 26th. Our primary focus was we were talking through applications for UConn student and other student representation. So Cynthia has had some conversations with the folks at E.O. Smith. We've even talked about Wyndham Tech. Again, I think, and Ron pointed out notably that the current bylaws dictate that all members of the board must be 18 years of age or older. We're going to move forward with the application process, and if necessary, we could adjust the bylaws if we felt like we needed to at the annual meeting. Cynthia did note that Mario, Steve, and Sean Basington have agreed to seek re-election and reappointment to the board. Kara and Frank will be ending their tenures on the board. And obviously, we're always interested in getting more residents involved with the partnership, bringing them into the festival committee and other things along those lines. As noted, we did review the bylaws briefly, talked a little bit about the number of necessary to be in attendance at the annual meeting and whether that's problematic at all. And we're still considering that. And then again, I think just some other conversations about board membership and makeup. And then as Cynthia noted, the annual meeting date and location have been set for June 27th at Huskies. And that was, I think Cynthia knocked out a couple of the other ones from that particular meeting. So that was the governance committee meeting. And then on to the executive committee meeting. We just met in advance of this board meeting. And we covered some staffing, some event planning, and other challenges relative to Magdalena leaving the board, leaving the partnership position. And so again, Cynthia and Kathleen both spent a lot of time going through the event calendar and responsibilities. So for this particular year, we will not be holding the Moonlight Movies. We will not be replacing Magdalena's position here in the short term. I think, the sort of the churn in that position, I think has Cynthia and myself a little wanting to make sure that we don't rush into another hire, and want to really evaluate, the role and the events that we're hosting, and just to make sure that everything is a right fit. And in the meantime, continue to hold, the remainder of our events, and then make some staffing adjustments to pay and to time for Kathleen and for Rosemary. And so with that, the executive committee is recommending to the board a motion to increase Senior Communications Manager Kathleen Patterson's pay by 10% for up to an initial 6 months, and a motion to increase Administrative Assistant Rosemary Watson's hours from 19 to 25 hours for up to an additional 2 months. The increase in those salary increases would result in changes of around $7,000, $6,750, which is well below the cost of a full-time coordinator. And then Cynthia would revisit those changes sometime after the annual meeting. Are there any questions in regard to those? Brian?
Yeah, so there seems to be a bit of a turnover in this position. We've
Yes,
been through at least 2 coordinators since I've been here, I think, right?
Yes,
So do you have any ideas why that might be?
I think what we discussed in the executive committee meeting was sort of taking this period of time to evaluate whether it's pay, whether it's responsibilities, whether it's staff structure. Again, I think in addition to the turnover in those positions, obviously within the last several years, we've also added a 4th person to the staff, a part-time person to the staff. So again, I think from Cynthia's standpoint, really to get one of the things we talked about, quite frankly, is whether or not, you know, the pay is in line with what we need it to be. And, you know, if that, again, you know, all situations are personal relative to those individuals that were in those positions. So it would be oversimplistic to say that the, you know, that the pay was a factor, or there are a lot of factors. So,
Any,
but
any sort of exit interview feedback or anything like that? That might give us a hint.
I mean, I think there have been conversations, yes, with both individuals that have left. And, so I think, as I said, I think in respect to those individuals, there, you know, the different reasons for moving on, but I think, you know, it not unreasonable based on, as you pointed out, Brian, the fact that we've had turnover in that position multiple times within a short period of time, for us to really take a look before we rush into hiring another person, and just make sure that it's, that the structure is the way that we'd want it to be. And, because again, over the last 2 years now, we've put there's been a lot of stress on Cynthia and Kathleen specifically, you know, to pick up a lot of slack. So I think that's what these motions from.
So we're trying to approve it around $7,600 here, I think, some
67.
of that. And
Yes.
what would the savings be on the fact that we don't have a coordinator? Is this like a wash?
Oh, it's well below, it's well below, it's way more than a wash, yeah. So we
Okay.
would be saving significantly, yes.
Okay, thank you, Kyle.
Yes, for sure. Anybody else? Fantastic. Okay, so those motions do not need a second, correct, Cynthia? Right? Yep.
Because they come from a committee.
Yep. So they're from the committee, so we can just vote then, correct? All in favor? Any opposed? Fantastic. Okay. Sorry, let me scroll back to the top of my agenda. Okay, that is the end of committee reports. Next on the agenda is the correspondence and communications, which is in your packet. And with that, I will ask if anybody has anything else to add before I ask for a motion to adjourn. Then I will happily accept a motion to adjourn. Brian, do I have a second? Emily was first there. Nice job, Emily. Quick hands. All in favor? Any opposed? Fantastic. Thanks very much, everyone. Have a great evening.